Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Mark Bell Saturday School. The tardy bell rang 6 minutes ago.
Oh, man, people are late.
So that means everybody listening right now is late.
Was it me?
No.
Was I late?
Well, we were supposed to start like, I don't know, an hour ago.
Yeah,
and I lost you.
We don't have a whole lot of luck. The good news is no one's listening.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Because we're not live right now.
No, we wouldn't do that.
But we'll be live soon.
Hopefully.
Maybe. We'll see.
You can figure out your buttons over there, but you got too many of them.
Too many buttons. One day I'll figure it out. But by then we'll have a new studio.
I know. What about that new studio?
I'm excited.
Where is it?
It's around the way.
I heard it's in production.
Okay.
It's being built. It's being built as we speak.
I dig it. All right. Well, check this out. I'm going to read off a couple of names. And this is kind of one of those trick questions where there's going to be multiple things that they have in common. But there's one specifically that I'm going to point out. It'd be sick if you get it right off the bat.
I got a number 2 pencil. I'm ready.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because that number 1.5 wouldn't work.
You ever seen a pencil that's not a number 2?
No, it doesn't exist.
Why'd they always make, like, that was such a big threat in school? Make sure you got a number 2 pencil.
That's
your Scantron sheet.
I mean, that's all school is a bunch of threats of, if you do this, you're going to get that. It's not even true that you have to graduate from high school to go to college. It's amazing.
I just found that out a couple weeks ago.
Your odds are better if you don't graduate.
Probably.
I think somebody said that the other day.
I don't know. Why are people in this school now? We made our own school. I hate school.
And I don't like it either.
Now we're coercing people to learn.
Now I'm in production with one. All right, check this out. All right, Hakeem Olajuwon and Clyde Drexler. Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant. Tim Duncan, and Tony Parker. So naturally, all of the people that I just read won championships. They won multiple championships. But what's the one thing that they all have in common?
Well, they did it together, right? They didn't do it. They didn't do it by themselves, right?
Correct. However, I mean, that's definitely right. Like I said, there's going to be multiple answers to this. They all won championships next to a guy named Robert Horry.
Ah.
So now when you look at these championship teams, Robert Horry may or may not jump out at you because he was a role player.
Looked like Will Smith.
And he looked exactly like Will Smith. It was ridiculous.
He really looked like Will Smith.
I'm so glad that you pointed that out because I used to think about that all the time. Like, dude, he looks like Will Smith and he could hit a 3.
Yeah, why is nobody talking about this?
That's actually what we should do a whole nother Saturday School on.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's guys like David Goggins, there's Michael Jordan, there's Kobe, there's all these guys that I just listed off. And they're the go-to guy. They're, when the game is on the line, they're going to have the ball. We've had people on this podcast that say, hey, like, if you're not running your own business, like, you're not really solidifying your future. Like, you don't know what's going to happen if you're working for somebody else. So the question for today's Saturday School is, I mean, can you still be a role player, still be successful? Because, I mean, look at Robert Horry. He has 7 championships.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan has 6.
Mm-hmm.
Robert Horry has, like, I want people to understand that. Like,
he's the GOAT. You got to give it to him.
Even being a role player, like, is it okay to be a role player if the end result is still the same? You're not going to be considered the GOAT, but you still got championships. Should people be okay with being a role player?
This is a sick question.
Thank you.
I love it. There's so much that goes into something like this. So let's start off with Tiger Woods, who they just recently did a documentary on. I think everybody thought they would want to be Tiger Woods, right? At some point. Anybody that's ever played golf, anyone's picked up a golf club. But it kind of goes to that thing of like, I heard this story about a golfer one time. He was smashing some golf balls and somebody was like, and he was having a rough day. And somebody was like, man, I'd love to hit a golf ball the way that you can. And he looked at the guy and said, no, you wouldn't. He's like, you would if it was convenient for you. But he went off on a tyrant, he went off on a rant. He's like, look at my hands. Like, my knees are messed up. My back is messed up. This is messed up. That's messed up. It's kind of like careful what you wish for. There's a lot of time and effort that goes into somebody trying to be great. And how many people are really screwed up from trying to be something that they're not? So we know about Michael Jordan. And Michael Jordan, a massive inspiration to a lot of people. But how many people fell short of that dream and felt like they were never enough? How many people lay in the wake of that, where they just never thought, they were never fulfilled because they were never Michael Jordan. Even Tiger Woods is a great example because Tiger Woods is number 2 in terms of being the greatest golfer of all time, at least from a statistical standpoint. Maybe from a money earnings or something else, you could point to other things, but he doesn't have more. He doesn't have the most amount of championships. He doesn't have the most amount of victories. So he still has, he's still young, so he still has a ways to go. But anyone who saw that documentary, you saw somebody that took the world on his shoulders, and then it ended up being too much, which is completely understandable. Saw something similar happen with, we've seen similar things happen with a lot of great athletes over the years. The answer to your question is 100% yes. I think it's important to maybe know if you're a role player or not. And it's okay to admit it. I have some friends that have started some businesses and they tried to go off on their own and they just weren't that good at it. And that was fine because they recalibrated back to their core values and the things that they're good at, and they focused on that. They joined up with somebody else. For me, doing the stuff that I do, I guess I need to probably say this as well. Things are really, they're hard to see for what they really are. Things are really blurry, like with my life. Someone might say, oh, well, Mark's an entrepreneur. He's an inventor, the creator of the slingshot. And nearly everything that you can buy at markbellslingshot.com came from my head at some point. But there wouldn't be a website. There wouldn't be anything if it wasn't for my wife. So while it may look like I'm doing all this stuff and I, strap everything to my back and I pull it along, I'm not doing it by myself. And I'm sure a lot of other people are similar, where they have somebody else that maybe behind the scenes is handling a lot of things. Some of these great athletes that you're talking about, it's hard to maybe envision, how it seems like Michael Jordan kind of did it on his own. I know he had Scottie Pippen, but he also had Phil Jackson, right? Tom Brady's getting it done without Bill Belichick. So we'll see what happens there. But I think being a role player, I think is great. I think it's important. My dad, I actually talked to my dad. So I've been going on these walks with my dad every morning since my mom has passed away a couple months ago. And it's been amazing. But you texted me that question like the night before. And so the next morning I kind of asked him about it. And he just has so many great life experiences. I love talking to him about this kind of stuff. And he was like, hey, you know what? I'll give you a great example of it. He said, I was doing something for our church, many years ago. And he said, my dad was at a pretty good position with IBM. My dad's very, very intelligent. He's a CPA and he's done real estate and he's been very successful himself. But the guy that my dad was raising money for the church with was an entrepreneur and a multimillionaire. And so they worked together. And my dad actually said, hey, you know what? The guy's name is George. He said, George, you know what? He said, you need to be the head guy on this because we're not going to raise the money that we need if I'm doing it. People don't know me. They don't know me the way that they know you. They're going to listen to everything that you say. And George was like, nah, man, I can't do that. That doesn't, he's like, you're smarter than I am. You should do it. And my dad was like, no, trust me, this will work better. And my dad's like, I'll do all the work. I'll come up with the ideas because I know that you're working your ass off. And so they used this guy's name and they used this guy's, business history as leverage. They were able to raise the money that they needed for the church because my dad is somebody that's not going to give up. He's going to be somebody that's going to make sure he's going to really follow through with it. Sometimes the people that are the most creative or sometimes the people that are the most fit to be the person out in front, sometimes they're not the most fit to make sure everything runs smoothly or make sure everything goes according to plan. You know how things go here. I have all these different ideas and all these outrageous things that I want to have done. But somebody somewhere along the lines has to say, hey, well, that's not maybe the most realistic thing to do. The other side of this is a side that people don't want to talk about, and that is you don't get to really work for yourself. That's a fallacy. you're any sort of like work in our modern day world, there's going to be an exchange of money, probably, right? If you're doing something for free, I guess you could say that's different, but then what are you doing it for? Now, if you're, there's going to probably be some sort of exchange of money, right? So whomever paid you, that's who you're working for. You could say working with, I guess. Sometimes it's collaborative, right? But that's who you're working for. And so that's something to really think about. You want to go off and you want to have your own business. You want to have your own shop or your own restaurant or whatever it is that you want to have. Well, you're now on the hook to all these clients, all these people that are paying you. I made a suggestion to a friend of mine a while back. She was dealing with what everybody else is dealing with, a lot of these restrictions from COVID-19, and she owns a gym. And she's like, I just don't know what to do. This is killing me. They change the rules every week. It's so frustrating. I said, it's easier for me to say from my position, because I don't have a public gym the way that you do. I have a private facility and things are just run differently there. But I said, what I would do if I was in your shoes is I would fire everybody, give everybody their money back and say, hey, you know what? We only want people here that are believing in what we're doing. And anybody else, anybody that gets upset because we're exercising, they just won't be part of it anymore. You can only sign up if you agree, that, we might get shut down here and there. Like a bunch of stuff might happen to the gym. A bunch of stuff might happen to this facility because we're not listening to the rules or the laws or whatever it is. And she was like, oh my gosh, like that would be amazing to do it. And obviously, again, easier said than done. Right. But my point was, hey, like get some freedom away from these people, because her whole thing was a lot of times my clients are complaining to the town that we're open or and she's like, but I want to have it open. And I know that they want to come and train. They want to come work out. But the second that somebody doesn't have a mask on, or second this happens or that happens, she's like, all hell breaks loose and we get told on and we get shut down again, or we get fined or whatever might happen. So sometimes I think that when you think that you want to have these responsibilities, in the end, and I'll say God, that's an extreme example, but nobody really wants to be God because there's too many decisions to make. How do I decide who dies? How do I decide who lives? How do I decide who's rich? How do I decide who's well off? How do I decide who gets leukemia, who has cancer, who has this, who has that, if you believe in any of these things? But you kind of get my point, is like, you don't want to be responsible for all these different things. And it's easy to look at somebody and they get out of a really beautiful car. You're like, man, that guy's got it figured out, man. I wish I could do that. But that guy may have, that guy might be on his third marriage. That guy might have, who knows what he went through. Maybe that guy has been made fun of and bullied his whole life, and he finally just said F it at some point and decided to go all in on something and took his chance and took his shot. And he finally, became a success. A lot of people that you see that are successful, that have money, a lot of times they're in their 50s, and it's like, this guy, like, man, he paid his dues. One of my favorite songs is from Queen, "We Are the Champions." I think that's the name of the song.
I think so.
In that song, the beginning of the song says, I paid my dues time after time. Like, so if you want to be a champion, you want to be good at something, you want to be great at something, you're not only going to have to pay your dues, but there's going to be some sacrifices that are made. Before we hopped on the show, I was just explaining to some people that are here today about some sacrifices I made to lift some of the weights that I lifted. There's some things nowadays that I can't do because of those weights that I lifted, because I was a professional wrestler for several years. Like, there's just some stuff that my body just doesn't want to even think about attempting. I could do those things if I liked it enough to put in a bunch of effort to be more flexible and more mobile and do a bunch of stuff. But like at the moment, it doesn't seem like a great idea for me to go snowboarding. Might like blow my body apart or something like that. I could see the face that you made there, Andrew. You can envision that I'm just going to like die on the hill, right?
I'm just thinking about those tendons.
Yeah, just snapping, right?
That big old butt.
That too. I think sometimes, when we're thinking about, I don't think it's a great idea. I don't think it's healthy to really even want to be great or to want to be perfect. I think trying to be perfect robs you of even being good a lot of times, because you're striving for something that's not really ever going to make sense. It's not something that you're ever going to be able to actually do. I always like to try to break things down and have things be really simple. If you're doing stuff that's simple and you're doing stuff that's feeling pretty easy and you do it day in and day out and you happen to get really, really good at it to the point where you can be a leader, you can be the person that's on the forefront, then that's great. And maybe that's the right thing for you. But a lot of times, being a role player is going to be, it could be your most important role. I've had people here tell me about 2 years ago that they're like, man, I don't really know what I'm doing. I don't know. And then they came around at some point and they were like, you know what? I know what I'm doing. I think I know what my purpose is. Now, I don't think, this is another topic for another day, I don't think you're supposed to really know what our purpose is. I think that our purpose is to be in search of what your life purpose is, but I don't think you're supposed to ever find it. Ain't that a bitch? Right? I think that's sort of the way that it works. That's my belief anyway. But I've had people here tell me that before, that work here at Slingshot. And then they said, you know what? I just want to pour my heart and soul into this and see what this can become and to see what I can do within the confines of this. And I was like, I think that that's your best bet. Obviously, for selfish reasons, I'm going to say that, right? But also for my relationship to this particular person, like, we're really good friends. And I'm thinking, this is your best bet to be the best that you can be, because forget about working at Slingshot. You can go and work anywhere else that you want. You can move on from here and move up or move to something different, but you'll have had this experience of dumping your heart and soul into a company that's new, into a company that's still on the rise, into a company that's hungry to get better. And we pretty much leave everyone alone here. We allow people to be their kind of own entrepreneurs within the business itself. And so I think you can earn a lot of great, you can learn a lot of great things while you're here, and you can use that as a stepping stone. I hope that everyone does do that. And for those that want to stay on the entire time and continue, they'll just continue to move onward and upward. They'll just continue to move on with the company. So I don't see anything wrong with that at all. I think maybe, a lot of times people are just wanting to get that recognition. But hopefully in this environment, hopefully I give you guys enough recognition to where you feel good enough about what you're doing each and every day to continue to do it the way you're doing it.
Absolutely. You definitely do. I mean, even just like calling one of us in one of your like YouTube videos.
Right.
That's always fun to do. But a follow-up question I had, maybe somebody is trying to swallow that pill that you just gave them. Maybe they're not, the go-to guy. They are the role player. How can this person still remain prideful in their day-to-day? Like, how can they still show up every day knowing, when the chips are down, or maybe they got 1 second left and they're down by 1 point, they need to hit that 2-pointer. They're not going to get the ball, but they might be the one that sets the screen.
Yeah, they got to pass it off.
But who's going to be on the cover of Sports Illustrated, right? It's going to be Michael Jordan taking that shot.
Right.
So how can they still remain prideful?
I think where you can remain prideful is the fact that you have time with your children on the weekend. And you have time to hit up that golf course, and you have time to go to that concert and do those other things that you like to do. Because I realize that in today's day and age, everything has really been flipped upside down, especially with the pandemic and everything. But you kind of, well, I should say this. If you're an employee somewhere and you don't have this set up, you should work on it with your employer. You should be able to leave work. Like, you should be able to, when you're at home, you should be able to leave work. And if somebody's texting you and thinking that you should get something done on off hours, I think that's a conversation that you should have with somebody, especially if you have a family. You should, like, if they're pissed at you because you didn't do something in the middle of the night, I think that sometimes that's unreasonable. There are times where sometimes shit just has to happen, and that can be annoying, and I understand. But as an employee, you should be able to leave work. As the employer, you're fucked. You got to figure out a way to make that happen. As the lead person, you know, if you're going to get the praise and you're going to get all that, then you're going to get all the junk and all the bullshit. So I think that's a really important thing. But I think where you get to be prideful is the fact that you're going to be able to pour yourself into something, have something that you can be proud of, that you worked on, that you were part of, but you can also still have these other relationships, and you can also still have some balance. The lead person, the lead dog in the company is going to miss balance here and there. It's going to come and it's going to go. That just is something that will happen. It has to happen. And if it's happened in the past where you're unbalanced for a while, then yes, you can end up getting balanced again. But there's probably a time where it's like, yeah, man, I was working like 80 hours a week, or I slept at the office, or, you know, the boss is just looking haggard and bloodshot eyes and whatever else. Not everybody else should have to wear that. I do understand every once in a while it does happen, but I try my best here at Slingshot to not text people on off hours. Sometimes I'm still guilty of it, but I sometimes will text somebody just to make sure that we're good for the next day on a particular time or whatever it might be. But I'm really working on trying not to interrupt people's weekends. You know, I love this job and I love everything that we do here. And I understand a lot of the employees do too, but they didn't create it. You know, it's not their baby, you know, it's they're part of it, but they're not it. You know, I'm it. So I have to, you know, when there's shit to be shoveled, I got to just hold my nose and shovel it. You know, that's kind of the way it goes, I think.
Absolutely. All right. Can you break down the difference between a role player and somebody that's just riding coattails?
Robert Ory might have been riding some coattails.
Greg Popovich.
Yeah.
What was Phil Jackson?
Yeah.
I can't remember. And then who was Tom? Oh my gosh, I'm not going to remember the Rockets coach now. I failed. It'll be on the next test.
Yep. Riding coattails, I don't think any of that's a problem. Look, man, whatever way you got to figure out, you know, to get ahead, honestly, as long as you're not screwing people over, as long as you're not hurting people, I think you're good to go. And if you recognize that something's moving along really well and you want to jump on that wagon, then I think it's worth it. I just don't think that it makes sense to probably be there for very long. And I think, you know, I think you're better off being part of something for a longer period of time and investing yourself in it more than just kind of riding the coattails, because we've had people that have done that here and their transition hasn't been smooth because they didn't have like the momentum, because I think that, you know, I felt in some ways in some of those relationships, I felt like a failed mentor where, like, man, I tried to teach them a lot of stuff, but it doesn't seem like it really worked that well. It doesn't seem like they digested a lot of what I was trying to share with them, or they misinterpreted it a little bit. And, you know, so that can happen. But I think the main thing with all of this is you're going to have your key players. You know, you're going to have your main people, right? And you're going to have your role players, but you all need each other. You know, there's no one's doing anything without a really great team. And then how do you have a really great team? Well, the only way to have a great team is to not be a dick. The only other thing I can think of is you could be a dick and you could pay a lot of money, but I still don't think that that's going to work that well. Elon Musk, when he goes on Joe Rogan and talks about all these things that he's working on, Elon Musk is probably not doing any of them, you know, but he's probably doing them enough, and he's probably physically there enough to where people are like, man, he's a savage. He's in there working with us, but he's not, you know, he has a team. He has a team of a lot of people. And I've heard that he even like works on the assembly line at Tesla and things like that. So you'll have to be, even if you want to be the lead dog, you'll have to have some skill sets to be a little bit of a role player as well. The role player gets to not really worry about all the shit that happens and all the stuff that comes with being a leader. You know, those of you listening that are fans of someone like Jocko Willink, I mean, you're better off being a soldier. You're better off being, you know, the leader in those situations. You're better off being the captain or the person in charge. Somebody dies, somebody gets hurt on a mission. I would rather not be there at all, right? But I would rather be a soldier. I wouldn't want to be responsible for somebody else, getting hurt, somebody else, something happening to somebody else. And in business, it's not as harsh, but imagine being responsible for somebody's Thanksgiving, being responsible for somebody's Christmas, being responsible for somebody's kid's birthday, being responsible for somebody having enough money to fix their car when it breaks down, and just all those kinds of things. Those are things that over time, those things erode you. Those things, they wear on you if you're not doing well with them. And if you are doing well with them, it could be an amazing feeling. But all of that goes along with all the other things that it takes to be a leader and to be in that place in the first place, along with all the sacrifices that you probably had to make at some other point.
Mm-hmm. So switching gears, because we do have so many people tuning into Saturday School, even though no one's listening, but there is still somehow a lot of people. There's a good chance that
probably bots.
Yeah. Well, one of those bots might be the leader of the other bots. So from a leader's perspective, how can somebody better manage some of these, I don't want to say egos, but like sometimes that happens, right? Like somebody might get the spotlight one day and then all of a sudden the next day someone else gets bitter that they weren't in the spotlight that day. So how can a leader help kind of manage their team of role players?
Yeah, that's kind of stuff can be difficult. You know, the juggling act, and then as an owner and someone who's you don't want to. Sometimes you're just like, you know what, I'm better off just not doing any of it. I'm better off not taking the whole team together and saying, hey, I'd love for everybody right now to acknowledge Andrew. He's been kicking ass. The podcast has been rolling along great. Thanks everybody so much. Have a great rest of your day. A couple other people interpret that like, what the fuck, man? They're all pumped about Andrew. Like, I got him those pictures. I did this for him, and all he did was upload them to the computer. Like, I work way harder than Andrew. I'm here way more than him, and you can get that. I think it's you have to take a long time in your process of bringing people aboard, and it's really important that the people that, if I'm to hear some things like that, which I have heard situations like that in the past, those people, they don't work here any longer. They didn't get fired for that. Anyone that's been fired from this company has pretty much fired themselves, because I'm not going to just randomly fire somebody, even if they're not doing a good job, because I'm not strong enough to do that. But for the most part, I mean, you can't really have that. There's things that you can't tolerate in an office setting. And once somebody becomes like kind of cancerous, because that's going to impact everybody else. So they go back to the media room and they say, I can't believe they're all talking about Andrew, and then someone else like, yeah, like F him, like he's the worst or whatever. And then someone's like, yeah, they only pay me this. And someone's like, what? Really? Like, you've been here for 2 years. Yeah, I never got a raise, and then it's just like, man, shit's really sliding downhill. Really
slippery slope.
Yeah, things are going downhill really, really fast. So the best thing to do is to try to be as fair and as honest with people as you can be. And I think when you do get in situations where you have meetings with people, you ask them, you say, hey, do you have everything you need here? Like, do you need a new computer? Is everything going good? Are you good? And, in accordance to what they say, you try to provide whatever it is that they might need. All right, how can we better assist you to do a better job here? It seems like you're doing a great job, but can we assist you any further to be more productive, or what do you need from us? Make sure they have everything that they need. You start to kind of check some of those boxes, and you ask them how they're doing with the group and all those kinds of things. And if they're good to go on those things, and then you also just say, hey, like, what, financially, like, are you good? Like, things going well? Like, and if they do, and if they say like, oh, you know what, I would love to be here, Well, then you got to kind of break it down and say, all right, give me some time to think about it. Let me get back to you. You have another conversation, but at least they know that you heard them, you know? I mean, sometimes what an employee has in their head and an employer has in their head are two totally different things. You start to have a conversation about it, though, and you say, you know, as an employer, you can say, I honestly don't feel like you're providing us double the amount that you were providing us, but I see your point, and I'm going to do this for you, and I hope you accept that, and I hope that works out well. If that person leaves the office and they're pissed, you know, and they're like, that's all you can do, I think that you'll have to make a decision together on whether it makes sense to continue onward, because now you got somebody in the office that's sour about something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I really wanted to point that out specifically for the opposite, the role players, to understand that there's a lot involved when you are managing more people than, you know, just a couple. Because I'm sure that there's some people like, oh shit, I wish, you know, I had somebody like Mark in my corner. You know, of course I would, you know, I've said it before, I'd run through a wall for you sometimes, you know, like that's just that I'm very fortunate.
Yeah, this team is awesome. I have to like yell at you guys to go home a lot of time.
Yeah.
Go home.
But for some others, you know, they might not see that side of it. So I just kind of wanted to open their eyes to be like, it's not as cut and dry as you might think right now. It's very complex. But
yeah, it is. There's a lot of things to manage, and someone could just not feel great on a particular day. And then when somebody else approaches them, they could be snappy, and next thing you know, all kinds of stuff starts to happen. And then, you know, something from 3 months ago, it's like a family. You know, it's like being in a family, and someone's like, yeah, man, you know, you've always been unfair to me ever since I was 5 or whatever. And like, where the hell did that come from? You know, we're you know, 30 something years old, and we're at a picnic or something with family, and all these crazy, weird emotions start popping out of nowhere. You're like, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah.
The best thing to do is to try to communicate, talk about those things, but also the real key to the whole thing is just when you bring people aboard, when you're bringing someone on board, you got to make sure that they fit what you're trying to do. I've mentioned this many times before. You know, an eagle is the only bird that soars as high as it does, and you want to make sure everybody in the office is an eagle. You know, anybody else that wants to fly lower than that, they can't be part of what you're doing. And that might be part of your screening process. Because it's probably really easy to identify whether somebody's like awesome for your job position. And maybe not everybody in your company needs to be in accordance to the style of business that you have, and in accordance to the type of job that they're applying for, and so forth. But for the most part, you want everyone to be, a way that you think is going to be the most productive for your company. And whenever there's problems in the company, you got to take that ownership on yourself and say, this is fucked up because I should have never hired this guy in the first place, you know, or this is messed up because I didn't talk. I should have, you know what? I should have been a little closer with him because I should have been talking to him about this the whole time, you know. And those are the things that happen, you know, as an owner. But I think the best way to do it is to hire great people. And then you really don't have to think about any of it. I don't really talk to anybody about work stuff. I mean, I might ask for some stuff here and there that's like work related. Hey, Andrew, you got a clip of that podcast? That was sick. That was really cool. I'm not like talking about anything like real heavy, but you also know that if you needed something, you could come to me with anything and we can have a conversation about it. Just sort of just the way things work here. You could put it in my head and I can start to think about it a little bit. And then we can think if it makes sense, those kinds of things. But yeah, I think the real key factor there is, you know, in bringing a team together, as we're talking about with some of these basketball teams that won all these championships, bringing a team together, you got to make sure those pieces of the pie fit together really well.
So as we kind of wrap things up for this edition of Saturday School, some parting advice and maybe just motivation, because, you know, we just kind of keep highlighting Robert Horry, but he still played 16 seasons in the NBA and he won 7 championships. Now, 7 championships is insane. That's a lot, but he still played for 16 seasons. So how do we keep the Robert Horrys of the world motivated to keep on pushing?
I always think that motivation is like something that you activate. It's activated by action. It's activated by movement, by doing stuff. And the second that you stop doing stuff and the second that you slow down is the second that you're like, man, I'm not that motivated to do that. And as soon as you start saying that, well, now it's really hard to get you out of that slump because, now you're trying to listen like David Goggins or something to get you fired up, or a Joe Rogan video, or whatever it is that you're trying to listen to get you hyped up. And those things, after a while, they usually don't work that well. I would say that motivation is a little bit like a shower. Like you need a lot of them, you need them every day. You need a dosage of it every day. And so getting some motivation here and there through things that inspire you, through things that you like, can be helpful. But if you have to get like motivated and fired up to do stuff, it's not the right stuff. It just means that you don't like it that much. In your effort to try to keep somebody motivated, I would just deter you from that and say, don't. If you have to keep an employee motivated, you're in a bad spot. If it's motivated towards, something that you're given like life advice about, that might be different. But if it's about the job, then I don't like that place that you're in. Because I haven't seen it. I've seen it work out negatively every single time, where you're like, well, I wonder if I just gave them more money, that would help. I've even had it be where people worked for me for free for a while, and then I gave them money, and then it got worse. Because it just was the end of the road. It just wasn't in the cards for it to continue onward any longer. So if motivation is great, and find it where you can. I find it through nostalgia and through old songs that I liked when I was a kid growing up, and I'll find little bits of motivation through that. I find motivation through YouTube videos. There's a lot of inspirational, great people that I like to follow and listen to, and I find motivation in that. But if I have to hype up an employee every day, that's going to be really, really tough. Like, I got a lot of other shit to do. I got my own family. I got my own things going on. So that just doesn't seem like a great place to be. And I don't think anybody at your office should have to do that either. I'd rather have people that are self-motivated, self-disciplined, that want to do it. I would say probably a really big key factor that I failed to mention is just, you want to try to build a great culture. And when you have people that are doing things well every day, that's when somebody else walks in and says, you know what, man, this place is great. Congratulations. This place is cool. This place is sick. I like it. I like the vibe in here. And when you have a place like that, and we have somebody like yourself on staff, we bring another photographer in, we bring in an assistant to help with the podcast or something, and you see somebody act a particular way, you go, we don't do that here. Right away you would be like, no, like it doesn't work that way. Somebody new that works here that, grabs a couple products out of the store. You probably wouldn't be like, hey man, are you stealing that? You probably wouldn't be all like on them like that. But you'd say, oh, well, there's you got to check out the products, and you want to make sure you run that by somebody because they have inventory, and that's not usually how we do it. Or if they just took shitty pictures, maybe they're not used to taking pictures of people lifting, and maybe they didn't frame it well, and you wouldn't like yell at them, but you would say, hey, like, this is usually how we do it because you want it to be the best, because that's all we're striving for, is to be better than we were yesterday. And so you wouldn't want to see shit fall apart. And if this is the new guy who's going to come in and do photography, you don't want to see that slip up or get worse. Maybe people think it's you, right? Because you did a lot of photography for us. You still do photography for us. But this new guy comes in and sucks at it. And then people are like, dude, what happened to your pictures? Are falling off over there, Andrew.
Falling apart over here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that would be terrible. But yeah, man, that's all I have over here on my end. I don't know if you have anything else to add on. That was sick, dude. That was perfect. I loved every second of this.
Yeah, I think, just on that culture part, I mean, everybody here, not every single person in the office is like way into lifting and way into exercise, but for the most part, it's rare. Although some of us will have like a cheat meal here or there, it's rare for us to see like cookies coming through the door or In-N-Out burger or fast food, or there's just like a standard, and I eat a certain way and the rest of the crew, I never really, I have explained to people the way that I eat, and you guys have seen the books and stuff, and we talk about it a lot on the podcast and things like that, but I've never told anybody here ever before, like, hey, this is the way you got to eat if you work here. But you see every single person with Tupperware. You see every single person with a healthy meal. I never told anybody anything about, hey, you got to be healthy and you got to lift. Otherwise you're off the team. You can't work here. There's never been a conversation. I mean, it helps when I am communicating with people, and when I do bring someone through the door, after like, oh yeah, I've been lifting for years, I love it. Okay, that's great, because now I know, okay, well, at least you've been around the gym, and when I'm talking about certain movements and stuff, you're going to get it. But it's not really a requirement. But what is a requirement is that we have just a killer, kick-ass environment where we have like-minded people that want to fuck shit up every single day.
Absolutely.
That's the requirement. That's what we need. So other people that want to be healthy and want to have great energy and want to make a good living, then shit, you're part of the squad.
Yeah, and I think everything works because we all see each other trying to kick ass every day. So you're only as strong as the weakest link, and you look around, you're just like, fuck, we don't really have that here. And on top of all that, you and Andy, bringing back Jocko, we all do have that sense of extreme ownership. You guys straight up said, hey, the podcast's yours, make it awesome. Like, oh shit, I have a really cool opportunity right now to make this podcast even bigger. So the fact that you guys trust us enough to do that is what really, it just makes us want to do better. And that culture starts at the top with you guys, and it just works its way down. We
need to do a video of somebody heating up some like SpaghettiOs in the break room and see what kind of reaction we get from everybody else in here.
That would be sick.
Everybody probably like, those are delicious. I forgot about those.
SpaghettiOs. I liked raviolis when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Those were so good.
I ate so many of those. I started getting in trouble a lot because I started eating like 2 or 3 of them at a time.
Whoa.
My mom was like, where are they all going? I'm like, I don't know.
All right. Would you microwave them, or would you put them on a pot and then stove top?
I was big on cooking it in the pot.
Yeah, me too. Okay. So I'm not crazy. It just tasted better.
It's better.
The heat went through it a little bit better.
It's better.
And then if it like burned the roof of your mouth and you like it's like dangling from the top at that point, like it just kind of ruins your day, but it was worth it.
It gets pretty hot. Thank you for the question. That was great.
Yeah. Thanks for the class session. If you guys listening right now, if you guys appreciated this one, let us know. We're really easy to get a hold of. At Mark Bell's Power Project on Instagram, at MB Power Project on Twitter. If you're listening to this on Saturday, maybe you want to, I don't know, maybe you care a little bit more. Maybe you're trying to work on your LinkedIn profile. Hit us up there too. We're all over the place. We're on Facebook. We're arguing with your aunt about something on like a yard sale forum or something on there. I don't know. Well, I got to maybe start doing that to get more attention. But what I'm trying to get at is that we're super easy accessible. Like we make it easy. Even if it's on this YouTube channel, if you're watching this on YouTube, let us know down in the comments what stood out to you in this episode of Mark Bell Saturday School, and hit us up with more questions too. Cause hey, I can do this all day, but it'd be cool to get some questions from you guys. At some point through the newsletter, you guys will literally take over this show. You guys will ask Mark questions directly, and it's going to be freaking awesome. We'll cross that bridge when we get there though. But yeah, that's all I got on this end.
Shout out to the people from BlackRock for coming out and checking out the show. And we're going to have a new podcast that's going to be unbelievable. Hopefully they can help us with that podcast problem that we've had from the beginning. We can't seem to get that crank to work, to turn the power on, to get the thing to work the right way. But
so I figure it out. I think
Nsima is still lifting and working out to try to figure out how to
figure that out. Yeah. But this is freaking hilarious. You guys are going to love this. So I'm coming into the gym this morning, and I see like a maybe early 2000s, like big Ford Expedition. It's not in terrible condition. It's fine. It is what it is. As I get close, it says BlackRock something all over the back. And I'm like, huh. Like, oh, like No, like, did we maybe sign up for something that we didn't know? And then as I got closer, it was like BlackRock Auto Body or something. So it was like a body shop sticker on the back of this car. But for a second there on the freeway, I was like,
did these guys drive down here in
oh,
this beat up car?
Like, man, if that's what they're driving, like, again, like, not going to judge a book by its cover, but I'm like, oh boy. And thankfully,
got some smoke coming out of it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I did kind of talk bad about another company, but hey, they got free publicity. If you're in Sacramento, hit up that body shop. That's all I got, Mark.
All right. Strength is never weakness. Weakness is never strength. I'm at Mark Smelly Bell. Catch you guys later.
Andrew, what's your favorite flavor of the Element electrolytes? Which one?
I am 100% all team, all orange salt.
Team Naranja.
Very good.
Yes. I speak Espanol.
Yeah. What about you, man?
Raspberry, dude. I love the raspberry flavor of these packets. Whenever I message them, it's like, send me more raspberry.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is, you guys see I have 8 electrolytes in my hand.
8.
Element is doing an awesome little giveaway, not a giveaway, but they are literally giving you a sample pack of electrolytes, and all you need to pay is
$5 shipping.
It's that easy. Pay $5 for shipping and you can try all of the different flavors of Element. They have their citrus, their orange, their spicy flavors, which are just really all pretty cool.
Oh, dude, before I forget, I know we're doing something right now, but if you put the lemon habanero on an orange,
oh God,
dude, it is so good. It doesn't make any sense.
Oh God, I'm going to try that when I get home.
It's so good. But yeah, I'm a fan of that one and just the regular plain, not like unflavored one.
Yeah.
I use that to salt everything.
And their chocolate's really good in coffee.
Oh my God. Dude, all their flavors are really good.
It's kind of hard. Yeah.
It would be really hard to try all of them unless they were giving it away for free right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, guys, seriously. All right, we do hype up, Element electrolytes because we love them so much. But now is your opportunity to experience everything we've been talking about. All you have to do is go to drinklmnt.com/power project and check out the. It's a recharge pack and it's a sample pack. It's absolutely free. All you have to do is just pay the $5 shipping charge, and it's absolutely yours. That's a
no-brainer.
I changed the camera right to you on perfect timing. But yes, that's all you have to do. drinklmnt.com/power project. Claim your free recharge pack, and all you have to do is pay the $5 shipping, and you get to try every single one of their flavors. Go do that right now.